Hey, RG, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay, I was muted. First show, we used to do that all the time in the old show. So anyway, hey everybody, welcome to Citizens Crypto. I am the captain, your captain, RG3. This is going to be our new show. We're going to be talking about politics, crypto, regulation, all that kind of good stuff. And my first guest, I couldn't have thought of a better one, Marlon Williams. He is a crypto advocate from the Atlanta Blockchain Center and also the founder of the PulseChain Foundation and many, many more things. He's involved everywhere I go, every crypto event I'm at, everybody knows who Marlon is. So, Marlon, good to have you with us, man. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's great to be here. Always good to chat with you.
Yeah, always good. I know we have longer green room chats than probably the show, right?
Right.
So how are things going? What's been going on with you? I saw you were out there. We won't talk in detail what you were doing, but hanging out with your pets, let's say, out at the ranch there. How's things going, man?
Good, man. Good overall. I spend most of my time working with founders. Um, and that's a little exhausting, but I spend a lot of time with founders, just talking to them about the crypto space and how to build businesses in the space, and it's exciting. There's never a dull moment, so that's the sort of day to day for me nowadays. We actually just this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to complete um, the fifth cohort in our incubator. So we by Tuesday we would have incubated 27 companies at
Nice,
the Atlanta Blockchain Center. So
nice.
these
Now
are
the
all.
Project Pi guys are doing really good. I've been
Yeah, yeah. They were in cohort number three. Yeah, they were in cohort number three. And yeah, they're doing well. Those guys are hardworking, man. They're builders. They love what they do. And that is reflective of most of the people that's around us. Just a lot of amazing people that want to build some cool stuff in this space. So that's most of my time. But then, of course, as you know, we host events every single week. Like last night, we had our I think 140 something consecutive week of events over in Atlanta at the space that you guys visited. Um, and then I just spent a lot of other parts of my time just dealing with and talking to legislators. I go to DC and fly in and talk to people in Congress. Um, and just try to be an advocate for crypto.
Yeah, so an advocate for crypto. And I guess the question these days is going to be what crypto? You know, being a crypto advocate is like a very vague term now because there are so many of them and there's so many directions that crypto has gone. And it appears that soon, I think after this elections over here in the U.S., that soon we're going to start seeing more regulatory involvement. What's your opinion on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this is it. This cycle, in my opinion, towards the end of it, we're certainly going to have a lot more clarity in terms of how the U.S. views crypto. I mean, all of the stuff that's going into just the like lobbying and making sure that we have a voice. There's more than 52 million Americans own crypto, right?
Yeah.
And just imagine if crypto was for all those 52 million people was like a single issue vote. Who you think would you know who you think would kind of tip the election in their favor? I mean, crypto is becoming powerful, and that's the point. It is powerful today.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I saw, the last election where it was radio silence about crypto. Like the election came up and it was like a non like, don't even talk about crypto. Neither side was talking about crypto. And then this election, all of a sudden, we see them both leaning into crypto in different ways, but both of them saying crypto has a place. Yes, crypto needs, even some of the detractors, the Elizabeth Warrens, some of the others, they even kind of backed off a little bit of some of their rhetoric and the things that they'd been saying about crypto. Did you notice a little bit of that going on this cycle here?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. The tone is isn't as aggressive as it used to be, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the industry, I mean, they've been supporting Democrats. So Democrats are seeing that they're getting millions of dollars in donations from crypto.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real thing. So
Yeah.
we we were trying to work on a fundraiser recently for one of the senators here, and I mean they were just super excited to get our attention. And I think part of it is because they know that there's some cash that comes along with it. So it's a real thing. But yeah, the rhetoric is certainly toned down quite a bit, even
Yeah.
from the crypto devil himself, the one that I photobombed back when I went to Congress. I don't know if you saw that picture.
I
I
did
can't
see. I got. You guys sent it to me right away. I was like, "Oh, look at what's sitting right behind him." Yeah, that was good stuff, man. That was really good. I
Yeah,
thought it was photoshopped at first. I was like, "No, he's messing with me." No, you were right there behind him,
that
man.
was
That was
right there,
great.
man, right there. So, I'll just not to segue, but I'll tell the story real quick. So we were up there campaigning, with the Stand with Crypto crew, and just talking about why these guys need to focus on and take crypto seriously. And the strategy was for people, coming from different states to go to the representatives of their state to talk to them in person and say, hey, I'm a human being that's building in crypto. The description of us isn't what you're seeing, right? The drug dealers, like, the crypto
Yes.
devil constantly says it. So that was part of it. It's, we're people that are in your state, you're representing us, and we're creating jobs in this industry. We're paying taxes. Like, this is a real thing, right?
Real
So you need to
industry.
start paying attention. So we're there, and it happened to be the day that Gensler was testifying. So I kind of broke off from the group. The rest of them went to the next meeting. I kind of broke off from the group and went into the congressional room where he was testifying. And I came in early, sat directly behind where he would sit, right? And then I saw him walking, really skinny, frail guy. Looks like I could pick him up like this and just throw him across.
Well, yeah, he looks like the billionaire in oh shoot, what's the Simpsons? He looks like he's all decrepit, and he's just,
Man.
gosh, you couldn't have made a better villain, right?
Right, that is true. That is true. He fits every single part. So he comes in, he sits right behind me, and there are two monitors in the room that kind of faces him. So I could see when I positioned the Stand with Crypto sign behind Gensler, I can see where it was on the monitor, right? So as I lift the sign up as he's sitting there testifying, and then literally all of the senators in the room, the Congress men and women in the room started looking at me. I'm like, oh shit, should I pull this thing down or what? But I decided to just keep it up there, and then it stayed up there for a while. It was caught on YouTube and X
Yeah.
and so forth. But yeah, man, that was, and then one of the guys came and made me take it down, so that's how it went down. But yeah, man,
Nice. Good troll. Good troll.
oh man, it was a blast. But even from him, the rhetoric is toned down quite a bit. I mean, he's still consistent in his the lack of clarity and inconsistency across the board. But even the point to your original question, yeah, man, the rhetoric is toned down a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see that, but that also brings new fears. Um, as we were talking in the green room a little bit, there's a lot of different directions that crypto can take. Well, there's really there's really two. I just don't know there's different iterations of the two directions, and there's the centralized uh, agencies, and then there's the decentralized autonomous code that's out there for us to all interact with, which is basically freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to do what we please with our crypto assets. And then there's probably the best solution, which I hope is what's going to happen, is some type of a melding of the two, kind of a cash and banking situation, where uh, centralized agencies can provide security and safety and for people that want that. And then the DeFi space can provide a cash system for people who want that, and I'm not for or I'm for any type of regulation that puts safety of the citizens in the front of it. I don't want money launderers, terrorists, and drug dealers being paid to hurt, kill, and create world havoc. I don't think any of us want that, but they have to have reasonable safeguards put in place, I think, versus just throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. No, I agree completely, man. And speaking of, crypto going to sort of bad actors, we were a victim of this in the last cycle. One of the developers, I'm a developer myself, but, when there's a ton of work to do, of course, you scale the team and so forth. And one of the developers that I hired turned out to be, I just found out this year, actually, a North Korean IT worker. And there's like this huge program where, North Korea is, they're sending staff across, the entire industry, and they're writing some of these smart contracts. They're responsible for a lot of the exploits that's happened, and it's an organized program. So, sure, there are those things, but at the same time, there are a lot more positive to the space, with people building and seeing the opportunity and wanting to be a part of it. And the question is, why is the United States specifically so anti crypto? It's ridiculous. I mean, there's a concern about the fiat, the dollar, how this crypto will affect the longevity of that, right? And there are a lot of other legitimate concerns that they could deal with, but simultaneously, I think, as opposed to attacking, they could still come up with some clarity around, raising money in crypto and custody in crypto. We shouldn't be running overseas to build if you're based in the US. And that's what a lot of, like I said in the beginning, I work with founders all the time, on a daily basis. That's what a lot of founders do when they are building these blockchain based businesses, man. They're incorporating overseas.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, you get a tool like PulseChain, for instance, where, hey, we can really go and build something and do some really innovative stuff. You put a team together, you get your devs there. Everyone's like, yeah, we can do this and we can do that. And the meetings are going great. And everybody's coming up with these ideas and putting a good, putting good code together. But then when you're releasing it and getting it to people, you're like, am I releasing it properly? Are they going to come after me? Do I need my name on this or my name off of this? Do I need to be in this country or out of this country? And it's things like that in an industry that's 13 years old, you should not have to operate and function like that. There is a serious issue going on here that needs to be brought up, that needs to be put in the forefront, that we need tracks to run on. We need regulation that shows us what we can and can't do without fear of being, incarcerated or fined or whatever for trying to innovate and bring products to market that are going to help people, and that's, I know that there's 99% of the stuff out there is scams or garbage. We know that there's a very small percentage of good crypto projects out there. And a lot of them may not necessarily be scams, but they're projects that haven't come to fruition, that haven't been funded enough, that haven't fixed their code properly, or that sit in places that aren't being marketed properly. So there's all kinds of issues to say that 99% of them don't work, and there's lots of different reasons. Oh boy, I'm having camera problems. Um, but to 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 throw the baby out with the bathwater again, and not go, hey, we've got to do the right thing and make regulations and make this space fertile for those people who are doing the good work, who are bringing the good projects.
Yeah.
I think that's the message that needs to get out there, and it needs to get out there fast, because I think, when we see this change here after this election, whether it changes one way or the other, there is going to be, we're going to start seeing regulation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with with things like the case with Richard, um, and the SEC, as we see these things come to some sort of final judgment, that also gets us closer. So although it's tough and it's a situation that no one wants to be going through, I tip my hat to the folks like Richard, even Coinbase and others that are being sued by the SEC, and you know s- representing us and fighting for us, because that's the only way that we're gonna win this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you recall back in 2016, 17, the SEC was perceived as this scary ass entity that you don't want to encounter at all, right? So there was
Yeah.
just anyone who talked about the SEC talked about them in a very sort of fearful manner.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's like, man, screw the SEC, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
Yeah,
they're being defanged right in front of
yeah,
us.
absolutely.
We're literally watching them be declawed and defanged right in front of us,
I
because
love it.
they've overstepped,
Yeah,
and they've made some grave errors. Why they've made those errors that they've made, I don't know. I don't get it. That, like, those were amateur hour mistakes that they've made with all of the power that they have, with the weakness of this industry. They had a lot of ways that they could have went with this and won their cases, but
yeah,
with the stuff that they pulled, it was amateur hour. I mean, this guy Ginsler really has to go. He doesn't know what he's doing.
right,
And even the whole board, the SEC board, at that last hearing, if you listen to it, they weren't not in his court either. They were like, "Man, this guy's an ass clown, man. He's messed up everything. I am not in agreement with him. Like, hey, our meetings, he's not the favored guy around here. Everybody, just to let you know, that was like, whoa, listen to them all. I
right.
mean, did you hear that too?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. So Nick Morgan, he's the one that we work with. He's the founder of ICANN Law, and he's the attorney that we work with to file the amicus brief in support of Richard in the case. He's a former SEC attorney. He came down. He flew down to Atlanta last month and came to our facility, and we had an amazing discussion, in Atlanta, just about the SEC's outlook on crypto, their approach to regulation by enforcement, and one of it was a really amazing discussion. I learned a lot from Nick. He was a former SEC trial attorney that converted because of the way that he saw them operate. He literally went from being an SEC attorney into a defense lawyer
Wow.
for people who are attacked by SEC.
I mean, how often do you see that, a lawyer going that direction? It's the other way around. It's like,
Yeah,
man, I've been protecting these a-holes for all this time, and I'm going over to the prosecution side. I'm done with this, with supporting criminals. So
yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
And I asked Nick. I said, "Hey, what are they doing with all this money that they win from these fines?" And he said, "He's like, Marlon, that's like a black box, right?" He said that the SEC has to the tune of $4 to $5 billion that's just sitting there, that's all collected from fines, and they're not doing anything with it,
and
to
and
his
that's the
knowledge.
problem, is they're talking about, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but they're talking about protecting the people, right? Like, that's their That's their thing. We're here to protect the people. The SEC is here to protect the
Right.
people. And you hear that coming out of his mouth all the time. And then I literally heard in a news segment one time where he had said this, and then I just lost my train of thought and my camera's messing me up. Let me think what I was saying.
Well, we're talking about, going from with the money that they have and the penalties. They say that they're protecting.
Oh yeah. Here we go. So the money. They said this many people lost, $6 billion during this whole thing or whatever, and the SEC sued and got $4 billion. And it's like, okay, did they give the money back to those people who lost the money? No, those people lost. The SEC got the money, and the thieves went off with, the other $2 billion. So it's like, wait a second, that doesn't make. How are you protecting the people when you're collecting the money? You're leaving those people high and dry. Yes, maybe you took a criminal off the street, or maybe you didn't take a criminal off the street. You just fined him and said, okay, be on your way. So he's back out there doing the same thing, because look, how many crypto companies have been fined 30, 40, 50, $100 million, and they're still doing business. I mean, EOS is one of the prime examples of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and it didn't change anything. They just said, oh, you got to pay a $35 million fine. And that was it. And everything's still business as usual.
Yeah, that was about the price that they paid for the voice.com domain.
So there's definitely some fundamental issues with regulatory, how it operates, the bureaucracy itself. I mean, really, I'm all for protections. I'm all for a government. I'm not one of these anti-government guys. I was a Marine. I believe in this country. I'm Native American. This place is important to me. So I believe that we can fix things. I believe that us as citizens can do the right things. The chips have been stacked against us over and over and over again, to where it's hard to function in this environment. But we've got an emerging technology that the world needs to get a hold of, and we're at a juxtapose here. We're about to see some change, and I just hope that we can all get in front of it and make it happen for the better.
Yeah, it's happening, man. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, and you'd be surprised, man, when the few times we've gone to Congress, knocking on the doors, having meetings with them, senators and the House reps. We're in their office and we're talking to them, like I mentioned before, about how crypto is impacting their communities in a positive way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you be against something that's helping to create jobs and give, increase wealth and, create better lives for your constituents? And surprisingly, RG, some of them, they get it. You believe it or not. I mean, so these guys, like some of them come from backgrounds in technology, right? Like this one rep in particular, he was working in IT for 30 years before he, left the IT world and became a congressman. So this guy knew all about blockchain and crypto, right? So there are representatives in Congress that are actually fighting against sort of like the cabal, the old school folks like Elizabeth Warren and her crew. But there are representatives who are literally proficient in the crypto space and know it, but they're almost like at a standstill, right? Because all of the reps with a reputation, the ones that everyone else listens to, they're the guys that hate this space, But I'm optimistic. I think we're certainly going to see 2025 being a pivotal year for crypto regulation in the U.S. And hopefully, we'll have something, especially if the political party in office in the White House changes. If that changes, usually the SEC chair resigns if they're a different party, right? So we know that Gensler is a Democrat. So if a Republican runs the White House, then usually the Democrat SEC chair steps down. One of the things that I was in Bitcoin Nashville when Trump was there speaking to everyone. I was in the crowd, and he said, "On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler," and the crowd just went
nuts. Yeah.
like, yeah, Trump, right? And I told you, Nick worked at the SEC, and he came to the office speaking to us, and I said, "Nick, is it possible for that to really happen?" He said, "Well, no, the president can't technically fire a chair of the SEC." As a matter of fact, Gensler still has his term. Still is.
Yeah, he has a term. Yeah,
right. So
he has
could
2
be
more years, right?
He could be an asshole and actually not step down if he wanted to, technically.
Yeah. So he would either have to step down or he fills up 2 more years, right?
Exactly. So, Trump says some interesting things. That's a different thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely interesting things.
But if he does,
but that's just politicking. He's just politicking, stumping. Trying to get the crowds riled up and get people excited about what's going on. I get that. I get what
whether he wins or not, too, RG. Whether he wins or not, or whether it's Kamala, I think Gensler's time is. I mean, it's up, man. It's up because even Kamala, we held a Crypto for Harris event at the Blockchain Center, and we're talking to some of the people there. I mean, even she has plans to, according to campaign folks, plans to replace him.
Yeah, right? I was told the same thing by a very reliable source in our politic world here. And he's on that side of the aisle. He's a Democrat, and he said, "Hey, RG, no matter what happens here, I do believe whether it's a Harris organization or a Trump organization administration, it's going to be the end of Gensler. Like Gensler will step down either way." And he said that's the word on the street. And so I was like, good. That sounds like a good outcome. Now, depending upon what administration is in place, is going to be the replacement. And again, in the green room, you and I were talking, or we just said it here on the show, that the rest of the board is not favorable towards Gensler. They're not happy he's there either. And and hopefully this is going to shake up the SEC. It sounded like the last hearing or the last congressional hearing that they all had to sit there on. They were all leaning towards better regulation. They were all saying the same. I was hearing a lot of the same things like, well, we don't have anything in the playbook to give to the crypto folks. We're sorry, but that's just the way this thing's been run. It was kind of like they were hinting like it's him right there, man. He's the one that's screwing this whole thing up. Don't look at us, look at him, And that's kind of how the whole thing felt. Is that what you got out of it too?
Oh yeah, man. I've been saying for years, I think Hester Peirce should have been the chair of the SEC. I mean, crypto mom. She's just level-headed. She came up with some safe harbor rules that she thought, the SEC could follow. I mean, she's just been a pretty solid SEC commissioner. Unfortunately, she's never been nominated to be the chair. But I think it's clear that the other commissioners certainly don't jive with Gensler and disagree quite consistently with his approach to crypto, especially. But either way, I think he's certainly going to be out of there. 2025 is going to be a pivotal year for us in the space, and we're going to see a lot of improvement. I think, again, cases like Richards, it sucks that even with a replacement, a new chair, I mean, these things still go on, right? And there were a few recent cases with the SEC that almost makes it seem as if Gary is trying to make sure that they put these companies in that bind, a legal bind, before he gets out of office, because he knows that the court system still has to continue to work. They're still going to have to resolve those cases, right? So it's like he's been amplifying his pursuit of these companies. I don't know if you noticed that just in the past few
Yeah.
months. It's like, dude, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with this guy? You know?
Well, I think, yeah, like you're saying, he's maybe trying to set up a legacy or set up something for whoever may have been supporting him through this whole thing. I don't know. I mean, that's all conspiracy bullshit. I'm just
Yeah.
spouting off the top of my head. But what would be the reason for that? So. But anyway, let's shift gears a little bit because I know we're running out of time here. But
Sure.
so the SEC, like you said, is scary. Years ago, a few years ago, when they sent me a subpoena, I was like, I shit my pants. It's like, holy crap, man, they're coming after me now, and so I did the perfect thing. I hid it from my wife, and I called my lawyer and went in my room and locked the doors and sat down with my lawyer for an hour, shaking in my boots. And and then when I got done with it, it's a non-issue. They don't have the authority, because I didn't know what kind of authority the SEC had at that time. I've since learned a lot about what they can and can't do, and knowing that they can only bring civil case, and that's what they are. Is they bring civil suit. Now they can make recommendations to the FBI, the DOJ, and say, hey, this guy's a criminal. You guys should go prosecute him, or look at what evidence we found on him. But they really don't have any teeth other than suing you, which is in of itself scary too. But if you feel like you've got a case and you haven't done anything wrong, then you go and you fight it or whatever. But I was relieved, and then I watched the SEC lose its teeth, and then even the case they had against me, me just pushing back the little bit that I did do, like my lawyer said, you're not giving them any of this information. That needs to be subpoenaed through a court. They're just asking you to kindly send them everything you own. Basically, they asked me for everything, like drop your pants, bend over, spread your cheeks, and cough, right? And I was like, my gosh, how am I even going to gather all this stuff? Emails and bank accounts and crypto account. They wanted all this stuff, right? And my lawyer laughed at it and said, don't sweat it. We'll make them go to a judge and ask what they want. Specifically, that's how this works. They don't get to do that. Anything you give them is voluntary. I was like, oh, great. And so now we've got this case a year or two down the road that has come up against Richard Hart. The reason we were all subpoenaed in the first place was because of Richard's products and what he has done. And so now we've got a case here in like a week that we're going to sit at in New York. I don't know. I don't think you're not going to be able to make it.
No, because of the incubator work that we got. But a couple of the guys here in our community are going to be there.
I heard the pie guys might show up.
Yeah, they're going to be there. Yeah.
Cool deal. But so what do you think's happening here with this Richard Hart deal? I mean, here we are. Bear market's ending. Looks like we're getting ready to come into a bull market. I think after this election is going to start to see more of a swing. No matter which way it goes. But we've got this thing looming over the Hex PulseChain community. How much of an effect do you think it has on what's going on, with the price charts, the popularity of everything, Richard himself? What's your opinion on it and what's happening?
Man, I think, one, it's unfortunate that, the SEC targeted Richard. But I'm not surprised. I mean, he's built some amazing products and has built a pretty strong reputation in the crypto space. Not a lot of founders in blockchain raised over $1 billion, right? You mentioned EOS, and I was very deep in the EOS circle. I actually am a co-founder of the Telos blockchain. So I spent a lot of time in the whole EOSIO world. Um, so EOS, raised $4 billion. Telegram with their Telegram Open Network token, I think they did 1.2 or maybe 1.9. I don't recall $1 billion, right? So just a handful of founders of projects that have raised that much money. So I'm not shocked that that Richard was a target. What's unfortunate though is, I mean, misappropriating $12 million. Are you kidding me? I mean, that is just the most ridiculous thing ever. It's clear that it's just, they wanted to bring him through the ringer, just to, kind of drag his name through it.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's sitting on the docket itself.
yeah,
That's the
right.
narrative in all of crypto, is that Richard scammed all of us out of $12 million. And even though it sits on the docket, I don't know. Did you know this? Like, so the lawyers even put in the docket a weird comment about it, but they said Richard stole money in January,
Mhm.
or spent money in January, that he stole in October of that year.
Yeah.
So, and in the docket, the lawyers literally say either, either this is incorrect, or Richard not only is a crypto fraud, but he also has a time machine, and they put that in the docket, and it's like, that's it's ridiculous to even see this lawsuit the way it's coming out. And
Yeah.
like you said, with the amicus brief that we all put together and supported and whatnot. I mean, it's 50,000 signatures, pretty close on that thing, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, there are a few issues here. One is, the SEC claims that we were all defrauded, right? Yet look at what's happening next week. I mean, there are going to be a lot of hexicans, pulsicans coming to support Richard. There may be one or two clowns that have said things negatively about Richard while this case is still going. But for the most part, I mean, the community themselves don't feel what the SEC claims uh, in their lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
The misappropriation of our money, being deceived through his marketing tactics, and I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. And if you look at all the other cases, by the way, with the SEC, Richard's going to have the most support by his community.
Yeah.
That alone is something, and unique in and of itself. You don't see the library community coming to hearings to represent to help them, right?
Yeah.
Even with Coinbase, and we have a great relationship with them. You don't see the Coinbase customers coming to these hearings to like say, no, we're not affected by whatever you're claiming in this lawsuit, right? So I'm positive about this just across the board. And look, the worst case is there's a fine, it's resolved, and just like EOS and others, Richard would have to pay a fine, right? I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I hope that he just kicks their ass, quite frankly, because he does have a very strong case, just from attorneys that we've spoken to. And as you know, we've spoken to Richard's
Yeah.
attorneys that's on the case directly,
Yep.
um, as well. So he has a very strong case, and I'm very optimistic. Either way, this is going to be resolved, and it's going to be good to put it behind us, so we could really move forward. And even with the foundation, I mean, I've been having conversations with, as you mentioned earlier. I know a lot of people in the space. I've been around for a while, and I've been trying to leverage that to help bring more adoption, more support, whether it's in the form of partnerships or otherwise, for PulseChain. Everyone from, I know people at the VP level at Circle, and of obviously Coinbase, and Chainlink and others, and we've been having conversations about, hey, how can you guys support PulseChain? Crypto Coffee has reached out to Tether to talk about, how do we get native USDT, right? So there's an email thread that we have with Tether about it. So we're leveraging what we, the relationships that we have in our network to try to bring more adoption to PulseChain. Of course, we're just behind the scenes, as you know, quietly building. But this case does have an effect. I mean, a lot of people in this work that I'm describing, a lot of people just don't like this dark cloud that's over the whole ecosystem. So it'll be good to get some sort of resolution to this thing, so we could have clarity, continue to build and grow the PulseChain ecosystem. And I think we're going to get to a point, in my opinion, where we're going to see all of these sort of traditional projects that are staying away right now. They're going to want to come to build on PulseChain.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And then that's when we'll see more adoption, number go up, those kinds of things. It's been a very strange launch PulseChain has, knowing what it is, knowing how it functions, knowing how it's going to operate in the future and what it means, and actually building projects and being involved with people like yourself that are building projects and incubating projects on the chain itself. It is so surprising to me to look at the numbers of asset valuation on all the other blockchains that have been launched. And I'm talking about some garbage ones, some real garbage blockchains.
Oh, I know.
And to see Hex or PulseChain, sorry, sitting in the position that it's sitting as far as its value, it's just the most undervalued blockchain in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it is. It's by far. And I know layer ones pretty well, man. Like I said, I co-founded Telos, which is a layer one. And competition, when you're building a blockchain, competition it's stiff. We launched Telos in December 2018, and we were struggling to try to get people to come and build on the chain, right? And there weren't that many. There were a lot of chains then, but they weren't as many as they are today.
No.
And it's one aspect of crypto that I follow really, really closely are layer one blockchains, because again, I have a lot of experience as a builder in that side of the industry, the layer one side, and that's what excites me about PulseChain, and why I decided to kind of jump in, not only with investments, but with working on the foundation and try to get the larger projects to give us the respect that we deserve. But it's because PulseChain is it is the most undervalued blockchain in existence by far, right? The community is there, the tech is there, right? The activity, the traction, you name it. The whole the slew of chains that are out there. Oh, we're faster. We're this or that. It's all kind of like the same shit, right? They got to build a community. They have so many things that we they got to build so many things that we already have in the Pulse ecosystem. It's just a matter of time,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I went to an LA big crypto crypto meetup. It was kind of a pitch fest meetup in LA. There was a lot of old time big crypto. I see SJ. She's pointing at the clock. I got to roll. But I went in. I try and stay away from these events because I hate the arguments. I hate the confrontation and the talks and they will not listen. They just do not listen to what you have to say. They want to make their point. And that's it. Again, I went to this event and I was quiet. And then finally somebody asked me something and I explained it to him. And then it was like, oh boy, you're that guy. You're the hex pirate, and it was like, oh shit. And then it turned into a shit show. I had 2 or 3 of them badgering me, telling me, the reason everybody hates you guys is, not only your founder, but because you guys are a MLM. And I'm like, you are so far from understanding what you're talking about. I said, do you want to get educated? Do you want me to teach you what this is about? And they just won't have it, especially once they start drinking. Then I know it's over. It's like, I just got to step away, because once they start drinking, I'll never get through to them. They're on there, you know. So I just went over and like tried to talk to Brock Pierce for a little bit and see how he was doing and whatnot. But other than that, we've got some time, like you said, we've got to invest in the market and in being better advocates for what we're doing here in the DeFi space. And I think that I'm going to start this show to talk more about politics, crypto, regulation, legislation, and also, you know, give a forum to the regular DeFi people, the single moms that are trying to save up for a house, the retired guys, you know, the working class people that are out there doing DeFi right, innovating in DeFi, like Project Pi guys. You know, those guys are straight up college students, you know, right out the gate trying to make their way in this space. Why on earth would you not try to benefit gentlemen like that? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me that you would be trying to regulate those guys out of the space versus trying to help them by getting them grants and things that can help them improve their launches and your incubation process and whatnot. So anyway, that's the 2 bits. But hey, let you finish it up, Marlon. Any words you want to speak before we have to get off? I got a kind of a hard stop here in a minute.
No, just everyone stay encouraged, you know, and keep building, keep working. You know, the glory is right around the corner.
Right on, right on. Well, we're going to definitely have to continue this conversation. We don't talk enough. Hang out in the green room for a quick second, and I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you for showing up, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right. See you. Thanks.
Take care. See you, everybody.